All right, guys, good morning. We'll get started so we can get you guys on your day. And like I mentioned, this week is for us to wrap up your content. And so with today, tomorrow, and Friday, today we're going to be taking a look at the Clinton presidency. Tomorrow we'll be taking a look at the George W. Bush presidency. Friday will be Obama. And that will wrap up any of the new stuff that we're doing for the course. Simply put, you've got ed puzzles for each of those that will be going into your test category. And if you've been paying attention to your grades are reflecting updates that I made last night, and I'll be making more tonight. Also, when you're doing your ed puzzles, keep in mind that they are in conjunction with the reading that you're supposed to have done. You're supposed to have read chapters 40 and 41 and turned your notes in to me. If you've not done that yet, you should do that soon. But that's what these questions are assessing, is they're assessing the video and also the reading that you've done to make sure that you understand what is taking place with the presidencies that we are looking at, to give you a rough overview of the content that we were expected to do in class, but that we're going to have to instead just cover briefly to keep you guys safe. With the Clinton presidency, Clinton, like you saw yesterday, got elected because of George H.W. Bush and his announcement that he was going to say to the American people, read my lips, no new taxes. For George H.W. Bush, though, he is a great example of how polarizing our society is now becoming, because for George H.W. Bush, he did what was right in the moment to deal with our deficits. He is also somebody who is going to do that in spite of the fact that he is going to get attacked by conservatives who view that as something that conservatives do not embrace. We're going to find, though, that previously Reagan had increased taxes. Nixon had done the same. We're going to find, going back through history, that we'd had multiple Republican examples of Republicans who were okay raising taxes. But at this point, following the presidency of Reagan and the philosophies of Milton Friedman, there was a feeling that was not the course that we should be taking. Instead, we should be going the direction of cutting taxes, cutting regulations, cutting government. And as a result, George H.W. Bush is going to do something that is going to hurt his chances of getting reelected. What's even worse, though, is after compromising, he is going to be running against Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton is a Democrat, but he is a Southern Democrat. And so when we think about what we're learning about from history, keep in mind that Bill Clinton is going to be from Arkansas. He is somebody who does like John F. Kennedy. He is somebody, though, who's a little bit suspicious of what's going on with the Great Society and with the New Deal. And so being a Southern Democrat, he is not going to be the very liberal type of Democrat that you have from the 1960s, the 1940s. But you will find that for Bill Clinton, he is going to be liberal enough that he's going to make conservatives very concerned about what he is up to. For Bill Clinton, he's going to recognize that we had an economic crash during George H.W. Bush's presidency. And with that crash, he discovered that when the economy goes bad, people lose their jobs. And if their health insurance is tied to their jobs, then they're going to end up losing their health insurance, which is incredibly dangerous. So he is going to try to come up with a plan for dealing with the issues of health insurance. He's going to put his wife, Hillary Clinton, in charge of putting that plan together. That plan will get labeled Hillary Care, kind of like Obamacare got labeled later on, and it did not come to fruition. It was not put into place. We will find that with Bill Clinton, he is our only president in recent history to actually get rid of our deficit. And the reason why he's able to do that is not because of what he's doing alone, although he's able to work with Republicans in Congress to come up with compromises. And the compromises they come up with is in order to keep military spending at a level that is going to be still defending the country. Bill Clinton wants to cut it. Bill Clinton's cuts to the military are going to be done because we're at the end of the Cold War. And so now that we're no longer on a war footing, we should be able to dial back our military some. For conservatives, though, this will give them the opportunity to label him as being soft on the military, soft on foreign policy, which is an attack that has worked against liberals for a really long time. Bill Clinton is also going to be able to get an increase in taxes. And by increasing taxes and cutting the spending on our military, he is able to create some balancing where now we have more money coming in, less money being spent on government programs. But in order to get that deal done, he also had to agree to things like welfare reforms and Social Security reforms and cuts in those programs to try to rein them in a bit, which has been something that made conservatives quite happy. So we're going to find that during that time period, by compromising, we did find the solution to our deficit. So if you're somebody who's depressed about how big our debt is getting, keep in mind that within my lifetime and within your parents' lifetime, we were deficit free. But then the problem that we had is we got into a war on terror in the next presidency. And that war on terror seems to be never ending. And as a result, we seem to be on a war footing that is similar to what we had during the Cold War. And we've got some deficit problems that have come back yet again. The other element of the Bill Clinton presidency, obviously, that you should be noticing is the impeachment that took place with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was impeached, kind of like President Trump was. And their similarities don't end there, because we're going to find that for both of them, and going back to Richard Nixon, the biggest issues that they're going to run into is not the actual incident that they're accused of at first. It's also the cover-up, and the cover-up piece is going to be something that we're going to be wrestling with the questions: is it okay to lie under investigation and under oath? Is it okay for the president to try to cover up misdeeds that they've had inside the White House? And we're going to find that during that time period, we're going to see different arguments being made by different parties. During the time period of Bill Clinton, Republicans were incredibly nervous about what an unethical president like Bill Clinton could be doing to the office of the president. And Democrats were the ones who were coming to Bill Clinton's defense. That then flip-flopped over the past year, where Republicans then became very unconcerned about possible unethical behavior by the president in the White House, and Democrats seemed very concerned about that. And this became very much a note that reflected partisanship that we're having nowadays. Now, for your ed puzzles that you're working with, I want to remind you of a couple different things. Number one, this is something that's being treated as an assessment, but it's meant to be the mildest form of assessment that you could get inside of an AP class. But I encouraged you to send messages to me if you were confused about questions. That doesn't mean that you're going to be getting all the answers just from the video itself. You're expected to have read chapters 40 and 41. You're expected to have notes taken of those things. And when you're watching the video, the assumption is that you'll be able to find the right answers by actually understanding what was going on with the Clinton presidency. So please make sure that when you're going through, if you want to avoid any sort of silly mistakes, don't just click through. If you are confused about a question, look it up, look in your textbook, look online, look whatever. But we want to make sure that you understand what was going on with those presidencies as we wrap up the course itself. The way the ed puzzles are going to be graded, and I'm going to be starting putting them into the grade book today. There'll be 5 points for viewing the ed puzzle plus the questions. And then we have the +1 bonus point that plays into all of your tests. We'll be doing that here too, because of the fact that there might be a question that is confusing or not clear or whatever. And so that should hopefully mitigate any of the consequences for that. The goal for these tests is to hopefully help you build your grade at the end of the course while also getting your content done. And it should not have a negative impact on your grade unless you are totally checking out at this point. And if that's you, hang in there. We've got 1 week left. And we've only got a few days left of content, and then the rest of the time is just making sure that you're making up your work. If you are missing any assignments, please make sure you get them submitted to me. And if you have any questions about any of them, send me a message. Like I mentioned, I've been plowing through grades over the past days, and I'm hoping that I'm getting to the stuff that you might be missing. If you are finding that you're confused or whatever, we want to make sure that you are satisfied with the grade that you're getting. A, B, P, or incomplete are the choices that we're going to be having at this time. I still need to throw out 1 test per quarter. And so I'll be doing that for your grades and 1 chapter of notes. But then also please keep in mind that with your test scores that you guys did on the AP test, if you got all your work completed and you get a 3 or better, that allows me the opportunity to then bend your grade upwards over the summer. And I would love to have that opportunity for you. But remember, that deal is only in effect if you've got all of your work turned in and submitted to the level that is appropriate. Make sure that you are also not copying and pasting from the internet or other things like that. That would be plagiarism. And so please make sure that is not where you are coming from. But then finally, I'd like to share with you, I just got access yesterday to your essays from the AP test. From the looks of it, there were multiple different varieties of essay questions that were out there. I'm going to be trying to figure out the coding today because I've seen 19 distinctly different test codes applied to the tests that you guys are taking. I don't know if that means that they were 19 different tests or just 19 variations of the same question that has slightly different documents or whatever. But I'll have more details about that tomorrow once I get a chance to investigate that further. For your Ed puzzle then, I will put it here into the chat as well. It is already on your Google document for today. But this is your Ed puzzle for Bill Clinton. Tomorrow we'll take a look at the 9/11 attacks and the George W. Bush presidency, which is going to include the war on terrorism, our two wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, along with other conflicts in other places where we are trying to chase down terrorists. But then also after a period of deregulation, kind of like we had with Reagan, and lower taxes, we're going to have a crash in 2007, 2008. That's going to lead to a decade of really hard times economically. And so that's what we'll be taking a look at tomorrow when we come back together at 8 a.m. If you are good at this point, you can dip out. Have a great day. And if you need anything, please let me know.